In this video, we'll go over string object in C++. In order to use a string object, we have to give the directive, compiler directive # include string. A string class is defined in the string header file that you have to include it. In the main program, we can actually declare a string type by typing string and then the name of the variable s1. And then we can actually assign to it some text, let's say welcome to C++. So s1 is string data type, and it literally holds a string value, and the value of that string is welcome to C++. So this is really a string literal. I can also declare another string s2, let's say, and not initialize it. If you don't initialize it, then the string s2 will be blank. There's nothing in it, basically, right? We can print out these strings. So for example, I can say cout s1 end line, system pause, and return 0. We can run this program and notice that, yeah, I can declare a string, initialize it, and print it as you would normally do with other variables. So here's the value of s1, welcome to C++. Right? It's the text. You can also prompt the user to enter text. For example, cout enter your name end line, and then let's say you can use cin and read the name in s2, which is right now blank, right? And also then in this line 11, I'm going to print out s1 as well as s2 with a space in between them. There you go, that's the code. So I'm going to prompt the user to enter a name and then read it in s2 and print both of them. Running this program will give us, let's see in a second. So enter your name, I'm going to write down Ali Farahani and then hit enter. Notice what happens here. This is the value of s1, welcome to C++, some space, and then s2 only read Ali, the first name, not the last name. Notice that when you use cin for reading string from the keyboard, the system will read text all the way up to the first space that it sees. So it really does not read the whole line. It just reads the first word, basically, all the way up to the space. So that's something that you have to watch out for and keep in mind. Other things that we need to know about string object is that string object has its own functions. So string object has its own functions, right? Those functions, some of those functions, I'm going to actually write it here. Here are some of the functions in string object. Let's grab the object or variable name, which we call it object when they are object s1, and we use the dot notation to call up the functions belonging to the object. So s1, one of the objects for string is length, and you probably can guess what length function will return. It will return the number of characters in the string. I'm going to put some space in there. Another function in string object is size, which does the same thing as length. So size returns the number of characters in the string. And let's hit end line here. Right. So we can take a look at the output here. Enter your name, let's say just Ali. So there you go. So welcome to C++. Notice that I applied the length and size functions to S1 string. So basically it's telling us that there are 14 characters in this string. Right? The first 14 is the value returned by length when we called the function length, and the second 14 is returned by the function size. Both of them, again, they both do the same thing. So if we count the number of characters here, there will be 14. But keep in mind, we have 14 characters in this string, but starting index is 0. So the index of W, uppercase W, is 0, and the index of this last plus symbol is 13, not 14. It starts from 0 and goes all the way to 14. Please keep that in mind as well. Now, other functions here, there is another function that's called at. Once again, to call that function, I'm going to use S1 string dot at, and then some integer value, let's say 1. Right? And I'm going to tell you in a second what that does. And then some space, and then I'm going to go after S1 dot at, let's say 5. And end line. We'll run this program. Once again, it's going to ask for a name. I'll put Ali in there, and here it is. Let's see what the at function does. We go to string S1, dot notation at 1. 1 is actually, this at function returns the character at index 1. Now index 1 in S1 will be E. W has index 0, E has index 1. So E is returned, prints E. Index 5 is, let's see, that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It will be M, and it returns M. Right? So the index returns the character at that particular location, basically. Now, C++ has subscript. In C++, the string has subscript operator. And that subscript operator is very convenient operator. It does the job of the at function that you just looked at. So let me show you that. Cout, I can once again take the string S1, and here is the subscript operator, brackets, and in there I can put the integer 1 and follow that up with some space, and then also again the name of the string S1, and then bracket, and let's go after index 5. End line. The subscript operator does exactly the same thing as the at function, but it's more convenient, right? So when I run this, same thing comes up. So whether I use the at function or the subscript operator, the same characters will show up. But one advantage of subscript operator is that I can actually change the character at the particular index, meaning that I can go to S1 and say that at index 0, the very first character, I'm going to change this to character, single quotation. For characters, we use single quotation. I'm going to change it to uppercase P. Right? For string, we use double quotation, and for single characters, we'll use single quotation in C++. Now, if I go and take a look at the content of S1, if I print S1, you notice that that first character, or the character at index 0, is changed to uppercase P. So once again, I'm going to run this. Name, welcome has changed into welcome. Right? You can change the characters using the subscript operator. And remember, I mentioned in line 9 and 10, particularly 10, when you use the cin object, and read string into a variable, only one word is read, right? Characters up to the first space are read into the variable. Now, what if you want to read a line of text? What is the command for that one? Reading a line of text into a string. So let's say you want to do this. In order to do that, you have to use another function which is called getLine. You use the getLine. It has two parameters: the standard input object, which is cin, as well as the variable or object that you want to store the text in it. So let's say s2. Right? Now, what happens here, basically, you will read a line of text from a standard input. Read a line into from standard input. That's the keyboard. That's cin. Into variable or object s2. That's what it does. And then once I read it, I'm going to take a look at it. Cout s2 end line. Now, before I run this program, I'm going to remove line 9. I'm going to comment it, and line 10 as well. That's cin, because if you're not careful, the cin and getLine combined in a program may cause some kind of confusion. You need to know a bit more about their behavior before using them. Now let me run this program. Start without debugging. Here is the output. Right now the system is waiting for me to enter a text. This is line 20, getLine. That's where we are. And let's say, hello, Hama, welcome to CSC 242. So that whole text, the entire text, is read by getLine and stored into C2, and when I hit enter, C2 will be printed. Exactly the same text.